Everybody keeps saying time is precious.
Right.
So we should now sit down and we should discuss serious things
Right.
about science, technology, life, and everything else.
Such a beautiful home you have, and
Yes.
the kind of nature.
Yeah. It's lovely. But it has a bird chirping around here.
Yeah, right.
There are some peacocks and parrots and squirrels and all of that. So it makes you a little bit closer to life. My name is Ashutosh Sharma, and I've been a professor here since 1990 at IIT Kanpur. What fascinates me is not the area that I'm not really wedded to a particular area, but anything that new comes along and I want to learn about it and I want to contribute my thoughts to it. That's what excites me in life. In Delhi, in Department of Science and Technology, I had started thinking about AI nearly 8 years ago. And I remember people used to laugh about it. If you go tell somebody, hey, we need to start this, they would say, what is artificial intelligence? We don't need artificial intelligence. I have natural intelligence and so on. Right? And I always said, wait 10 years and you will see what happens. AI and its technologies are here to stay with us forever. So when a new technology develops very fast, very rapidly, the human mind is often not able to grasp all the implications and all the impacts and all the shadows of that technology.
Everyone is talking about AI,
Yes.
but no one is talking about governance on AI.
Yeah.
Like, for example, since you talked about cognitive abilities and all those
Yes.
things, like if I'm a child, I rely heavily on AI, and so my mathematical skills could be weak.
Yes.
It can create that kind of
Oh,
impact on
that's
me.
obvious.
Yeah.
That's very true. So, in fact, over reliance on AI certainly would lead to cognitive decline. The machine will always do better than you. Don't compete with machine. Okay.
People even questioned our talent too, like we have bottleneck of talent in terms of science and research.
So ecosystem makes a difference.
Okay.
And this is you yourself said, okay, there's somebody working here or the same person goes away somewhere else and then becomes highly successful.
Right.
So the success is not individual. It depends on the ecosystem that surrounds you. If only money for research was the problem, then how come we don't have top mathematicians in the country? Right? Because you don't need money. Okay, you don't need infrastructure. You don't need $1 billion to do good mathematics. So it is all in your mind. So why is it we are not leaders in mathematical sciences? We are a great civilization. We have always been a great civilization. We have something to offer to the world that they don't know. It's great to have you. This is such a good day. It's a perfect day for walking outside.
Okay.
And then we have lots of stuff to discuss. I'm so glad to see that you got good things to discuss here today. So let's not waste too much more time. Everybody keeps saying time is precious.
Right.
So we should now sit down and we should discuss serious things
Right.
about science, technology, life, and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
100%,
Okay.
sir. So this is your second time on my channel
Yes.
at your home at IIT Kanpur, and today last time we discussed a lot of philosophies. Last time I was hesitant to call you a friend, but I can call you a friend now.
Very good.
So this is one thing that I've achieved in the last 1 year, and it has been such a incredible year for you too. You have
Yes.
been conferred with Padma Shri,
Uh-huh.
and which was a very wonderful news, and the government of India acknowledged you in the right context.
Uh-huh.
So heartiest congratulations for that. And
Yeah,
there's a
so
party pending on you.
but I must say that it's not acknowledging only what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So I did something with the help of lots of people. Actually, they did all the work. So we should never say that, look, this achievement, Padma, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
it belongs to a person. Nothing that we do belongs to a person. It belongs to a whole lot of people. It belongs to system, if you may call that. It belongs to nation. The whatever you are able to do, you are able to do. I am able to do. Whoever is able to do. We are mere symbols. We are channels through which something gets done, but you cannot take credit for it.
Yeah, right.
So right circumstances, right place, right time, all of that
A
allows you
little
to
bit
do
of luck.
something. Not only a little bit, whole lot of
Okay.
luck, because luck, I should explain to you what luck means. So most people think luck actually means some horoscope or some stars. It's not that. Luck is that aspect of life which is non-linear and full of complexity, which we neither understand nor control.
Okay.
So this is what we mean by luck, because no matter how much your preparation is, the outcome may not be what you thought it should be. This is luck. So that's why I keep saying, look, focus on work, forget about outcome, because outcome is governed by luck, but the actions are governed by you.
Right.
That's not governed by luck.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So okay, so we keep doing actions, whole lot of people together keep doing action.
You also said last
Sometimes
time
we
that success and failures are just inventions of mind.
of course they are.
And
They are not inventions of mind. What I mean is, you should very clearly define what success or failure means. You can define them if you say, look, have I been successful in this exam? So that is true. You can define it. Of course, answer is yes or no.
right.
Right? You are either successful or you're not. Either you failed the exam or you didn't fail the exam. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there is no such thing as an overall success or failure. So if you define in little things, am I successful? Can I jump 3 feet? Maybe, I'm a failure. That doesn't mean you are a failure. The failure does not belong to a person. It belongs to many different actions and many different events. So all of that is not you. Okay, you may have failed in the exam, but you may be successful in life. You may be a happy person, for
Yeah,
example.
right.
Right. So therefore, we should not reduce success and failure to a person. They are success and failure for an event, for a particular very minor stuff, right? So while success failure is okay mathematically, but they cannot be extrapolated to somebody's life. We are neither success nor failure, and there is a whole lot of things every day. There is some success, there is some failure, isn't it? So that is all okay, and these are to be all understood in the proper context.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But you are happy with the
And
word, no?
sometimes when you fail in something, actually it can be a blessing,
Okay.
right? So for example, people think that the success means I should get something, whatever I don't get is a failure. But actually what we do not get may be actually success, because there's implications for my life may be actually success, because I didn't get something. Maybe let's give an example instead of being abstract. Suppose I got all the comfort, somebody in their life, the first 15 years of their life, they got all the comfort, unlimited resources, 10 different cars and everything. So you think this is success, but it may not be, because it totally spoiled that person. Now, afterwards, he would not know actually how to earn his living. He had not developed those capacities at all. And another person who grew up the same 15 years under constraints may go much farther in life. So to determine what is success and what is failure, what we get and what we do not get, they play equally important role in our life, without saying whether it is success or failure, because we don't know what we get or do not get today. What is the implication of that in my life 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now? Okay, so that is the same reason that often people ask, they say, do you have any regret and stuff like that. Then I think a lot about it. I say having regret is logically not possible. Psychologically people feel bad sometimes. They say, if only I did that, if I,
Bad about their choice.
like my friends did, if I made a different choice, right? The whole point is exactly the same as what we said about success and failure. You see, we cannot go back and redo the entire history. Suppose I made a different decision 10 years before, and now what have been would have been all the implications in my life, we do not know. We just focus only on one decision, right? We say, oh, if I made a different decision, but we don't know. Maybe because of that decision, suppose I said, oh, if I just gone out for interview at that time, I don't know, maybe if I stepped out at that time, I got hit by a car and die. You don't know. So you cannot run your life. It's not a controlled experiment. You cannot revisit your life and say, if I made different decisions, how would my life run? There is no guarantee that your life would be any better than it is now. It could be worse.
Yeah, right.
Right. So all this is just total nonsense to about regret and about different decisions and so on. Reality is what it is. It cannot be altered. So regret and all, they are basically manifestations of an immature mind.
Can we just rationally think about those decisions? Okay, those are my decisions, and can make a peace with it. Okay, those are my decisions.
No, no question of peace. I think we are looking at it wrong. See, what I'm saying is this is not a psychological thing. Hey, are you at peace with your life and your decisions?
Mm-hmm.
I am saying even something more fundamental. I am saying those decisions, they are unalterable. They are gone. Okay, that world is gone, right? Neither acceptance nor rejection is possible. Neither peace nor fight with it is possible. You see, these are because what do you make peace with something that I mean, I'm saying peace is inevitable. Okay, there's no other option, right? There's no other option because reality does not ask us to accept or reject. It says, I am the way I am. Okay, you accept it or you reject it, who else cares, right? So the point is that we don't question reality. We live with it, and the only way to live with it is peacefully, right? Instead of struggling with things we cannot struggle with. You cannot
Yeah,
struggle with
right,
your past, right? You can only struggle in the future. You cannot struggle in the past, right?
right.
Because you cannot revisit it, you cannot alter it. But having said that, there is a way to alter the past. And altering the past actually means the past which is stored in my neurons as a memory,
Mm-hmm.
that can be altered. So that is why people have different recollections of the same event. Okay, some has the same event happy, some people is sad, some people is right, the same event, but its interpretation and memory are different. So it is entirely possible to control your past by changing the memory of that past.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wow. Sometimes
Yes.
you just say these incredible things like that only.
In fact, it's not possible to. Yeah, I mean, changing past is easier than changing the future.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because for future we are working,
Yeah.
and some of it would change, some of it would not change. Like we said, outcome is not in our hands, isn't it? So it's very interesting about past and future.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so great. We will discuss all these things. So please have a seat. In okay, such a beautiful home you have, and the
Yes.
kind of nature.
Yeah. It's lovely. I've always grown up in a bungalow kind of government bungalows kind of setting like this one is. So I feel comfortable. It'd be very hard for me to live in a metro, in an apartment, which is has no nature around it. I don't much like plastic and glass and modern materials of construction. I feel quite at home with 60-year-old government bungalows,
Mm-hmm.
but it has birds chirping around here.
Yeah, right.
There are some peacocks and parrots and squirrels and all of that. So it makes you a little bit closer to life, organic life, rather than artificial life, which is lived in noise and pollution.
Okay, so saying you like the man who lived in Delhi for 10 years,
8 years.
8 years. Okay. But sir, okay, so in the when you started the video, I just introduced you as my friend.
Hmm.
So rest I leave up to you. So how would you like to introduce yourself for the people who don't know you?
So I'm certainly your friend. In fact, I'm friendly to most people. If they accept me as a friend, then I'm friend to them.
Okay.
Okay, I don't differentiate between. Um, you see, people who may be little bit insecure psychologically, they try to look different. They try to be different, and they think that they need to feel superior, and so on. I always feel quite friendly because this is the default. You see, unless there is a real reason not to be friendly, this could be some professional reason.
Mm-hmm.
But personally, there is absolutely no reason not to be friendly, isn't it?
Okay.
So I think being friendly is default. And so I am. My name is Ashutosh Sharma, and I've been a professor here since 1990 at IIT Kanpur. Before that, from 77 to 82, I did BTech here in chemical engineering. Since 1990, that I have been always working in new areas like nanotechnology and so on. What fascinates me is not the area that I'm not really wedded to a particular area, but anything that new comes along and I want to learn about it and I want to contribute my thoughts to it. That's what excites me in life. So I've been changing a lot of areas. And then, so I've been professor here 1990 to 2014. Then from 2015 to 21, I was in Delhi as a secretary, Department of Science and Technology, where I developed interest in the macro aspects of science and technology in terms of policies, in terms of schemes, in terms of understanding where the gaps are, understanding actually how to address those gaps proactively, and so on. So that's been my interest in terms of policy and so on. Then I came back here in 2021 after my stint at Department of Science and Technology, and I have been working on many different things. I've also been doing what you may call social service through science and technology and innovation and policy. What does this social service mean? It basically means that I travel a lot, I go to conferences, I contribute to different themes. I also chair some councils and boards in order to bring some vision and policies into our scientific institutions. Um, I do some writing, I do some learning, and so all of that is continuation of my journey um, as a professor, as a scientist, as somebody who has interest in science and technology, of course, the areas in which we do research, but also somebody who has interest in other aspects of life and how they mesh into science and technology. So that's my short introduction. Also from 23 to 25 for 3 years, I was elected president of Indian National Science Academy, which is the apex body of all the top scientists of the country, around 1,000 of them, in every area of work, from engineering to medicine to biology, chemistry, physics, geosciences, everything. So that this is a body which is can be very effective in terms of policy formulations, in terms of helping the cause of science, and so on. So I have enjoyed that role a lot. We have brought in a lot of changes in the functioning of the academy to make it more modern in its structure and function, to be able to serve society more effectively. Um, and so after the end of 25, I still remain a professor at IIT Kanpur, hopefully that until the age of 70 at least. So now I'm heading towards about 65 of age, right? And so what happens is many of my colleagues and friends I started with in BTech, many of them are kind of retired. They are doing good work. I mean, they still remain committed to society and so on. So I'm also in a sense that I'm retired in the sense that I'm not so focused on my own interest anymore. That I mean, my own career goals, they don't take priority anymore. What I want to do is based on the experiences that I have, based on information and some knowledge that I have gathered, that I would try to help other people and the institutions and the other cause of science, technology, and innovation. There's a very short journey of 65 years here.
Wow, perfect. You have been quite a few things. You have been a student, professor, scientist, DST secretary, INSA president, and artist too. So if we,
Artist, yes.
yeah, right. So if we look at your journey, like this span of 40 years, I want to see from your lens how things changed. First, as a professor, as a student in science at that point of time. Then, when you came into the administration for the 8 years, you led two institutions and you played a very crucial role in them, especially at a time when things are changing too fast, technology is changing too fast. So, from your lens, I understand these things.
So first of all, let me clarify a larger issue. You said that somebody is an artist and a scientist, an administrator, and so on, student and professor. These are not different things.
Okay.
So now we give them functional labels depending on what that person might be doing at that time. Underlying all of these functions, and to be able to fulfill these functions in a satisfactory way, both for yourself and the people that you're serving, is very necessary that there's a common spring for all of these things. That common spring we must not forget, which is interest, learning, and commitment and excitement and passion. So these are the things, so they give rise to creativity. They say, look, that I must learn something new every day, that I must do something new every day. I should make little difference, whatever it is in my capacity to make that little difference, not only for my own life, but my own life gets better fulfilled when I make a little difference out there. And so this is basically, whether you're an artist sometimes looks like to be a very selfish pursuit, but it's not. I mean, it can be, anything can be a selfish pursuit, but it can also be a pursuit that enlarges the boundaries of the self. And this is about, constant curiosity, about learning, about doing new things. So all of this, I consider all of these labels to be a whole. It is one thing, it is not many separate things. This, teacher, student. A good teacher has to be a good student at the same time.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so if you're not learning, then you're only fossilized. You're only giving second-hand knowledge. You're not critically thinking. And so, when you especially said when things are changing fast, when things are changing rapidly, you cannot hold on to the knowledge or information and belief that you have had 30 years ago. So that is why I mean that, as a student, you are curious about learning, and you have the capacity to learn. The capacity to learn comes when one, and capacity to learn very widely. It comes when one is not focused on the self all the time and saying, what is in it for me? Would I gain something from it? Why should I waste my time? Right? So, okay, I mean, there are some jobs which are very narrowly defined, in which case, you think it's a waste of time to do anything else. But a teacher's job, a thinker's job, a learner's job has to be that this is, you not consider it to be a waste, that you remain committed to learning in a wide spectrum and be able to correlate your learnings from different areas to produce something new. And so I have always seen my role as something where new challenges are there. So those new challenges require new learning, and they require new modes of action and modes of thinking. And whatever it takes to evolve it, I've always been very happy doing it. Um, Now, what are the changes that you see? You correctly pointed out that there are changes are more rapid now than they used to be 50, even 30 years ago. They are more rapid. Technology certainly is changing much faster, and now with the rise of intelligent machines, AI agents, um, many varieties of AI which are embedded in many things like IoT, Industry 4.0 and beyond, the thinking machines of all kinds, cyber physical systems. So all of that means that there is a whole new world out there. And the whole new world out there, we must understand the nature of that world. So in fact, to give an example, in Delhi, in Department of Science and Technology, I had started thinking about AI nearly 8 years ago. And I remember people used to laugh about it. If you go tell somebody, hey, we need to start this, they would say, what is artificial intelligence? We don't need artificial intelligence. I have natural intelligence and so on, right? And I always said, wait 10 years and you will see what happens. Okay, so now the reason I'm saying this, that one has to be like looking something at the future. You see, you must be able to judge future by looking at what's happening today and be able to extrapolate it in some sensible way. And that happens if you let go of the learning and conditioning at that point and start afresh. And you say, look, okay, it has not been there before, but it's there now. And what is going to be the impact of it? And how do we control that impact, make it positive rather than negative? So then we started this mission, a national mission on cyber physical systems, which are now completed 6 years. And it took a couple of years to formulate and to launch it. So it has produced a very basic foundational capacity in our educational institutions and even industry. It has created hundreds of startups which are based on deep technology and all of that, and it has um, It has created human resources which are able to contribute and to learn in this area. So there have been 25 hubs of cyber physical systems across the country at a cost of about 3,600 crores, which was quite substantial, 6 years ago. And so it has created this foundation based on which many things are being built now. So there's for example, the AI mission of MIGHTY, launched by MIGHTY, is a very noteworthy progress forward that's going to build on whatever we had so far, and then also diffuse our AI into different sectors. Because AI is not a vertical of science and technology; it's a tool, so it's a horizontal. So it cuts across every application, every aspect of our life, every sector, and every industry. So therefore, all of that is happening now at some speed and scale, and is only going to scale up much more. Now the question also is that, of course, there are lots of issues related to regulation, um, ethics, a whole lot of things that come into play. So when a new technology develops very fast, very rapidly, the human mind is often not able to grasp all the implications and all the impacts and all the shadows of that technology. The light is easier to grasp because whoever develops that tool has some benefit coming from it. So that's the light of the technology. But the shadows of technology, they are not owned by anybody. So therefore, it requires a great deal of wisdom as to how the deployment of AI tools happens, who is the controller, who is the owner, who is there a human in the loop, is it human centric, is it technology centric, is it only profit centric, does it create a level playing field, does it sometimes create more unevenness, amplify the inequalities, does it lead to justice? Would we have a world of AI which is not which is less exploitative or more exploitative? See, all of these questions have to be thought of very carefully. Okay, and not in a day. These are all evolving things, and many of these things would become clear more and more in another 5 years, in another 10 years. AI and its technologies are here to stay with us forever, right? Forever. I mean, I don't know how long that forever is. There are many challenges and constraints. When I talk about new technologies, clearly these are, they can be assistive technologies or they could be master technologies. And whether humans will lose cognitive abilities by outsourcing cognitive tasks to machines, all these questions remain. Okay, and we cannot predict the future at this point. It depends on how we will make that future. So that's one. The second challenge and constraint is sustainable development.
Sir, firstly,
Yeah.
since you mentioned a lot of things, if I can just ask you,
Yeah.
everyone is talking about AI, but
Yes.
no one is talking about the impact of AI, like
Mm.
positive impact and
Yeah.
governance on AI.
Yeah.
For example, since you talked about cognitive abilities and lot of
Yes.
things, if I am a child, I rely heavily on AI, and
Yes.
everything I consume from AI.
Yes.
So my mathematical skills could be weak.
Yes.
Lot of it can create that kind of
Oh,
impact on
that's
me.
obvious.
Yeah,
That's very true. So, in fact, over reliance on AI certainly would lead to cognitive decline. There
yeah,
is no
right.
two ways about it, no matter what people say. Okay. So, whole point is this. There are 2 points. One is, how do we actually use AI so that it's more assistive than replacing humans. Now, of course, what happened is, you see, there was the first industrial revolution where machines replaced manufacturing by hands.
Right.
So the same dilemma had come at that time. He said, look, if I'm not producing anything with my hands, what is the meaning of my existence as a human? What am I doing? Right? I'm not doing any work. Suppose all the robot work, all the production is done by robots, right? Then your relation of your hand with the product, it breaks. Now the same thing is happening with AI now. With this revolution, the relation between what I produce creatively, my cognitive product, actually the relation between my mind and cognitive product breaks because it's not being produced by me anymore. So it is true that cognitive abilities would become, if they are not used. And obviously, for a whole lot of creative and cognitive tasks, a single human or even a group of humans cannot compete with AI. The reason is very simple. Let me very quickly point out. The reason is very simple. Human mind is isolated. It can only learn from its own experiences. It's not connected. So therefore, when I have an accident, I only learn from it. Even it's difficult to convince anybody that you should not do this. They will learn from their own experience. It's impossible to convey and to transmit very effectively, your experiences, and that other people can benefit by it. But machines are not like that. They don't have an ego. They don't have a self. So therefore, they can learn. See, the key to learning actually is absence of self and ego. So now what happens is connectedness of machines. If one driverless car has an accident, eh, all other cars can learn instantaneously from there. It's not, I have to learn from my own accident after breaking my leg. Okay. So therefore, and second aspect is that all the knowledge and information out there gets integrated, is available to a machine, and it can make some combinations of these things which are available in order to arrive at new and useful information and knowledge. So because a single human mind cannot have all these facts at their commands, so therefore they are unable to see the big picture. So because of that, it's very clear that humans cannot compete with AI in any cognitive creative task. It's we are already losing it, but 10 years from now, I think very frankly that this is not a winnable battle, and in fact should not be a battle. So now we have to we have to redraw the map of actually what humans do. Okay, so it may even not today, but 30 years down the road, 50 years down the road, people will have to reinvent humanity. You see, there are some things that humanity have forgotten. They wanted it to be more machine-like. Okay, so because of the rise of corporate industry and so on, okay, mechanical way of life. So you say, look, a successful human is the one which can work as good as a machine. We'll have to reverse now. Okay, say because machine will always do better than you. Don't compete with machine. Okay, so then we'll have to reinvent and reposition humanity. This goes beyond governance, by the way. We are looking at governance and standards and all those aspects. They are, of course, there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to redo ethics. All these questions, legal questions, we will have to ask and answer. You say if a machine, an AI-driven machine, has an accident, the accident kills somebody. Whose responsibility is it? Is it machine? Is it the algorithm? Is it the hardware? Is it the corporation that made the machine, or is it the user? Okay, so none of these things are very clear now. So we'll have to redraw the legal map. We'll have to redraw the ethical map. We'll have to redraw all of that. But even beyond that, I'm saying there is something fundamental. There is something more deeper, and that deeper thing is what is the role of humans. Okay, now there are many ways to think about it. Even before all of that happens, of course, that AI would be very assistive in many tasks. For example, healthcare is a very good example. So you say, look, all these people that I cannot deliver services, healthcare services like diagnostics, um, or even treatment modalities, they could be done by machines, no doubt about it. And that this would be more democratization of the use of science. So that's something very positive. It can we reach larger number of people? Can we reach people who are unreachable without these new tools? So all of that, can it enhance the quality of life and so on? There's no doubt that this is going to happen. So at the same time, now you were asking the question about, we are asking the question, does it make for a more level playing field? Does it lead to greater justice? Does it lead to evening out more disparities? Does it lead to, let's say, energy transition, which is accompanied with justice, right? All of those issues are there. And so it depends on how the systems evolve, governance systems evolve. But beyond all of this, when the dust settles down, so to say, I am saying a century from now, when you have many other challenges coming up, can AI deal with challenges of climate, for example, of the climate change? All these questions are a little bit open. Is it going to increase the process of climate change, or is it going to control it? We don't know, isn't it? So you can also say, look, all the digital cyber processes also contribute to carbon footprint. They also contribute to greenhouse emissions. They also contribute to cognitive decline. They contribute to melting of some ice. All of that is happening. Okay, and how much more is going to happen in the future, we do not know. So there is of course a direct impact, because let's say in terms of energy, but there is also an indirect impact which is much bigger. What is the indirect impact? You see, if we didn't have this technology, there are certain things, would not be as efficient and would not be at scale. You can now do more physical activities become possible because of the use of intelligent machines. So all of those physical activities that become possible because of this technology, their carbon emissions are also attributable to this technology, right? Suppose that people can do more travel, okay, whatever, because of the fact that there are better control through better scheduling and all of that through AI, which means it has dual impact. One is of course that every time we do LLM chat GPT, obviously it has an impact, right, like any physical activity. But at the same time, it gives rise to new activities, new physical activities are made possible, and they have a greater impact on our climate change and emissions and so on, right? So all of these things are happening, and they will accelerate in the future. And then we have to, humanity has to know how to have a purposeful control of new technologies through laws, through regulations, through policies, and through understanding. There is no substitute for understanding, because not everything can be top down. Uh, it is by um, it is by it is how people envisage and design their future to be. So this requires enlightened society. It requires it requires critical people, not people who are compromised in terms of their thinking. So in terms of their cognitive processes, in fact, we want brighter people, not and dull people, right? So dull people are the people who think that life can be lived mechanically without questioning. Okay, and so of course the societies can fall in that trap, and our challenge is not the technology. Our challenge is how you would deal with that technology in order to minimize its shadow and maximize its light. That's the challenge.
So you have been into the shoes where you can, like, you control many things. You can control the policy, you can control the impact. So how did you make sure, like, at lot of points, like the net contribution of this should be positive? So with be it a policies, be it its adoption and many things.
So I'll give you an example of a policy
Okay.
and how policy is very helpful in leveraging our science and technology. So a lot of people think that if I know my science and technology, then I've solved the problem. Actually, it's not that. For science and technology to work, for society, for economy, for industry, and so on, there are many factors. So the first factor, of course, is creating the right knowledge. Creating the right knowledge which has relevance, which has direction, which is for problem solving. Okay, not random knowledge. Okay, sometimes we create random knowledge which is driven by curiosity, which also has a place in human mind and history. But that knowledge should be profound, not some incremental stuff. So basic knowledge, basically, that we create should have profound implications. It should be novel and profound, exciting. At the same time, other knowledge that we create must have relevance and direction. So this is all called invention ecosystem. Create knowledge with quality, with profoundness, with relevance, and with direction. These are the four things, right?
सर
So
यहीं पे एक
designing
हाँ
our schemes, we should keep that in mind. Now I'll actually complete it. But now that's not enough. We may have all the knowledge you want, but actually there's nobody to use that knowledge. Now that knowledge has to be used, which is called innovation ecosystem. And I often illustrate it with the example of Lakshmi and Saraswati. And this is not simply lip service. In fact, in all the conferences that are organized, we start not only with Saraswati Vandana, but also with Lakshmi Vandana. The reason is simply this. You see, we should not condition young brains by saying only Saraswati is important. You see, Saraswati creates knowledge, but it requires money to do that. Lakshmi creates money, but it requires knowledge to do that. And so, therefore, the relation between the two is totally symmetric. And we cannot ignore one at the cost of another. So, now this innovation basically, ecosystem has to work. Invention and innovation have to work together. That's why startups are very important, because startups take knowledge and convert it into opportunity. So it's a bridge between Saraswati and Lakshmi, from the knowledge place to marketplace. So okay, now the third thing which is very important for any science technology to work is the policy, the laws, the regulation, and will of society. I'll give you an example of policy. This is what we started. So policy, you see, in India, there was a policy for 100 years from the time of British, that you cannot do surveying and mapping. All the civil engineers know about it. You cannot do surveying and mapping without very tedious approvals, which required approval from defense, from home, from IB, from Survey of India, from a whole lot of things which are very tedious. It may take 8 months to get that approval, and for private sector, it would have been even harder to get that approval. So now, what was the offshoot of that? You see, even if you had LiDAR, even if you had technology to do mapping, you cannot do it because there is a regulation, the policy does not allow it. Okay, so then with that we looked at this aspect, because surveying and mapping or Survey of India is with Department of Science and Technology, so policy for surveying and mapping had to be changed. And this became very clear that it has a very big impact on economy. So our Prime Minister Modi, he immediately recognized the need for changing this policy. And actually, his input was, we must have a policy which is future, proof. So you said, how do you actually make it work? How you make it future proof? Through policy. So is it, you should not change it for next 50 years. There should be no need to change it for next 50 years. It should be that simple. The final policy which came around is saying that any Indian entity, public or private, does not need tedious approvals in order to do surveying and mapping at any scale, even if it is 5 centimeter resolution, okay, which was totally prohibited. Okay, and so now, of course, you take care of security aspects by saying that you cannot do surveying and mapping in areas which is considered off-bound by a competent authority like Defense Ministry, which is perfectly fine, but for developmental purposes, you should not require. So now, of course, the whole country can be mapped, is being mapped by different states at let's say 10 centimeter accuracy. And this is what, a whole lot of this, our population, whole lot of our population, rural areas, they don't have ownership paper for their land. So now this scheme called Swamita has started. Swamitva means, having your own stuff. And it means that, all this digital mapping being done, and then it's percolating down to panchayat, tehsil level where land records are kept, right? So that the people are getting ownership certificate for their land, and it means it's huge impact on economy. Why? Because all this land was actually non-performing asset like gold, which is sitting in locker. But now this person can go to bank and take loan against this asset, which means that the rural economy, semi-urban economy is going to be greatly strengthened by this technology. So it's not like we lack technology. It's like we lacked actually how to operate the technology. And you see, technology changes policies that we must adopt, because at one time security was the paramount concern. But with today's technology, you see, you cannot hide from enemy anything. Okay, so only way to deal with enemy which does not respect your map is through technology only. It is not through prohibition. Okay, so suppose I'll give you an example. That if you say, hey, drones. right? Can be a big security concern, but to deal with the problem of drone insecurity is not to shut down flying drones of our own, legitimate drones, right? But to detect enemy drones and neutralize them through technology, right? So you see, so deregulation and liberalization in today's technology-driven world is very important. So we must have the policies which do not put unnecessary constraints on our citizens for their development, right? But at the same time, taking care of the security, legitimate security needs of the country, and that has to be done through technology only. Huh? So this is a very good example of how a right kind of policy will make the science and technology work for us and work for our economy and work for our society. So one has to, constantly think about it. Do I have bottlenecks in terms of policy? Is there something in my rules which would not allow my development of the society, right? And there are many situations like that where policy is very important.
Before you go to this admin flavor, you are a scientist,
Mm.
and scientists can deep dive into anything, as you said. Like your research should be oriented onto a particular outcome, like it should be commercialized, or it should serve people or prosperity or economy. So how
I
your
did not say that.
okay,
Okay, let's be very clear about this.
okay,
I said there is also something which is called basic,
okay,
very fundamental questions in science. However, that research must be profound and novel and has quality,
okay,
right? Not simply because I have nothing better to do, then I just say, I do fundamental research, but really, it doesn't excite anybody,
okay.
you know. So there are two kind of, as we say, fundamental research and applied research, and both of them have value. But the value is that the fundamental research must be profound, exciting, novel, and creative. Whereas, so that something new is actually found. Maybe some other stuff will be built on it later. It's okay. Applied research must have relevance and direction. So, a fundamental research without something profound and novel is useless, whereas applied research without relevance and direction is useless. So, you need different qualities depending on what kind of knowledge you're seeking, basically. But now, okay, go ahead with the question.
So when you became a DST secretary, so how your perspective changed and how you used to look up to things like, okay, this research has to be some kind of an outcome, or we should commercialize research. But one of the problem which
No,
I
no,
found,
so sure, of course, at that time, let me say
okay,
2015. Uh, in fact, Prime Minister had given this thing about Startup India. There was no Startup India before that. In fact, people
okay,
had not heard about startup, right? So the whole concept came 2015, and DST at that time also had scaled up the budget for innovation and startups by 500% in a single year. So then we started introduced a new scheme called NIDHI, which is still very popular.
yeah,
So
yeah,
NIDHI started in 2015 and has supported many incubators. It has supported many startups. It has supported many different stages of getting into startups, which was very critical. So, of course, the importance of startups and innovation became clear starting from 2015, at which time there were less than about 100 startups in the nation. Today, by some estimates, 1.8 lakhs which are registered. So clearly, this has happened, which means people have realized the value of translating their knowledge, their information in commercial aspects. So which is a very welcome thing, and DST has supported this in a big way. And then all the funding agencies do remain committed to the use of knowledge for socio-economic good. So I'm not saying only economic, I'm saying social and economic good, right? So sometimes, I mean, health, for example, and so on, happiness of people, you can put an economic value on it. But even if you don't put an economic value on it, you know that this is good.
so great. So as sir, as we see the rise of these deep tech startups, like one of the fundamental problem is collaboration. Like many of people in India work in silos. Like if you look at the researchers, if you look at the startups, if you look at the institutions, so like we all have same common goal to make the country great. Like to make India great again. So what do you think about that problem, and how do we make ensure
Yeah,
like
so it's a,
solve
you
this?
see, one aspect when we are discussing what makes science and technology enterprise successful, one of the things I forgot to tell you, which is actually the most important,
Okay.
is cultural behavioral aspects. Okay, so cultural, it's not, your science is no different from other country, other society. Your science is not different, maybe same industry, something. What is the difference? The difference is not in terms of our IQ or training. It is in terms of our cultural behavioral aspect, and all this that you pointed out actually is part of that. Say, do we work in teams? Do we have team spirit? Do we have an understanding of what Indian problems are? Do we have an understanding of, hey, how can I go about solving it? Can I convert my knowledge into socio-economic opportunity? All of this kind of thinking, these are very the cultural behavioral aspects. Also, how much confidence I have. Can I do I have I learned knowledge in a way that gives me confidence to convert it into practical applications, right? There can be a bookish knowledge which is good for cracking exams. There could be, so the limited use of that knowledge for cracking exams has served its purpose, and so people have not developed it beyond that. They have not, the purpose of their education has not been of acquiring information, has not been actually to do something with it, but to crack exams. So that societal aspect has certainly hampered our progress. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's very easy to see. And the example I gave you about Saraswati Lakshmi, you see, when you ask any professor, I'm telling you in a lighter vein, ask any professor what do they need? They'll say money, but they are worshipping Saraswati all the time. So you are barking up the wrong tree. Having defined the right problem, okay, you must have respect for that and not be hypocritical about it. So I think we need confidence that, look, we are as good as everywhere else. I mean, people, they say our university, as good as XYZ there. Why do we say that? Right? I mean, we must have the confidence that we can solve the same problem that others are unable to solve. In fact, we must recognize what our problems are first of all, and not just be followers. We have to be leaders. So this mindset which produces leaders rather than followers is a cultural behavioral aspect. It has nothing to do with your IQ. It has nothing to do with my training, right? We get the same best training, we have the same best IQ because you can crack the toughest exams in the world. So then, where is the failure? The failure is squarely, I will repeat again, in cultural behavioral aspect,
Okay.
which says I cannot take risk, I must be a follower, I am not comfortable leaving my comfort zone, right? I just want another job. Okay, I'm not going to take any risk. I have the confidence to pull it off, something like that, right? And so all of these things contribute to our not developing as rapidly as we really should with so many, energetic, educated young people.
So you are saying that fundamental risk-taking ability, so
That's
we
one
lack there.
aspect.
Okay.
But I said many other
Yeah,
aspects,
yeah.
which is all in our mind.
Hmm.
Okay. Somebody may know much less, but is much more
So we
confident.
need to believe in ourselves that we can do it.
We have to believe not only in ourselves, but also in others
Okay.
surrounding us.
Yeah, right.
So, our manager then believe his people. He say, let me get technology from this country. Right? So he had neither believe in himself nor his subordinates.
Sir,
That's it.
despite of
Yeah.
everything, like for a long time, we have heard that India is a follower of a Western science, and people even questioned our talent too. Like, we have bottleneck of talent in terms of science and research, and we have seen like, when we look at the companies in Fortune 500 companies, there are many Indian CEOs. But
Yes.
when we look at the science,
Yeah.
like, we don't know our science leaders. Okay, people ask where are India's Nobel prizes
Yeah,
and
yeah,
lot of
sure.
stuffs. So we can talk about
So
that.
they see, so ecosystem makes a difference.
Okay.
And this is, you yourself said, Okay, there's somebody working here, or the same person goes away somewhere else and then becomes highly successful.
Right.
So it is, the success is not individual. I already pointed that out earlier, right? It depends on the ecosystem that surrounds you. So same knowledge you may produce in place A versus place B. In place B, there may be a taker for that knowledge. In place A, there may not be any taker for that knowledge. So that knowledge will just die. It will not produce the fruit. A very good example. Let's go back to the times of Raman. Now he got Nobel Prize, so he produced profound knowledge. But the commercial fruits of that knowledge did not come to India. They went somewhere else. Why? Because whoever is prepared to make use of that knowledge, whoever has the muscle to make use of that knowledge, only will benefit. So therefore, it's not enough to produce knowledge. You must also have an ecosystem to convert that knowledge into opportunities. Okay, and so this is what I called invention ecosystem, innovation ecosystem, working together. It's not even enough to have innovation ecosystem, invention ecosystem, but not working together, right? They must have they have connect. They must have a strong connect. They must have a respect for each other. They must understand each other's language. Most people just give up. Their professor says, यार इंडस्ट्री को तो कल चाहिए, अभी कहाँ से करेंगे? No, their timelines are different, their goals are different. Industry is saying ये professor नहीं करेगा, वो नहीं, हमको import कर लेते हैं, technology. So people have no understanding basically. So when you say, look, I want to be Atmanirbhar. So Atmanirbharta, of course, has to do with infrastructure. It has to do with technology. It has to do with training. It has to do with human resources, everything, right? But something more, the cultural anchors of Atmanirbharta. These cultural anchors of Atmanirbharta, when I thought about them some time back, you say, look, Atmavishwas, then you need Atmachintan, and you need Atmasamman. Okay, so these are cultural behavioral aspects. So Atmasamman basically means, self-respect, which means you also respect others for their capability. So self-respect is like this. When you have self-respect, you can give it to others. It's like money. If you don't have money, you can't give it to anybody else. So that is why people are so negative, because they don't have self-respect. They are negative about their life, and they also, extrapolate it to other people. So this negativity which permeates some parts of our society, but I am happy that it's becoming less with coming generations, right? In my generation, I could see lack of confidence, a lot of negativity, that we cannot do it and nobody else can do it also. If somebody is trying to do something, it'll pull them down, right? These are all classical symptoms of lack of confidence, the lack of self-respect, and negativity, right? So the point is this: everybody has problems, and every society has problems. To emphasize the problems without talking about solution is what I call negativity, right? These are our problems. I mean, somebody is going to come to solve them? No, right? So merely stating the problem all the time and becoming more and more negative about it is self-defeating. Okay, and so our science and technology can be far more muscular if we took care of cultural behavioral aspects. Instead of people saying anybody is trying to do good, then I start competing immediately. Then that competition leads to petty politics. That petty politics try to basically dampen everybody who is trying to do good. Okay, and because I pointed out to you that I'm close to 65 years old, so I have seen this in operation everywhere.
Yes.
Right? And actually, it does not serve anybody's goals, isn't it? This is totally irrational. To say that because I will not allow my neighbor to do well, then I will feel good that I am not doing well. But okay, everybody is not doing well, so I'm also not doing well, right? So this kind of stuff actually retarded our progress, and this is the typical mentality of people who have lived under colonial rules and foreign masters. You see, so this cultural trait has to change. The confidence comes from the fact we are a great civilization. We have always been a great civilization. We have something to offer to the world that they don't know, right? And then we must take care of our problems, right? Instead of complaining about them and thinking that God out there will solve it for us. So cultural behavioral aspect, I will again emphasize and conclude there.
So in the 65 years, you have been the man, like, who shaped science and technology for 8 years. So again, like,
No,
when
no, I
you,
would not say I shaped science and
okay,
technology. That's too big. There are
yeah,
many players and stakeholders and things and institutions that shape
okay.
science and technology.
But you were
And
in,
in fact,
okay,
what I'm emphasizing is a common running thread into all our institutions, scientists, majority, and so on. The prevailing culture, that lack of burning ambition, that lack of saying this passion and saying yeah, let's do something profound, let's be leaders rather than followers, right? See, now what has happened, for example, the corollary of that, suppose I did PhD or postdoc in a particular area, I will continue to do it for 20 years because there is more comfort in it, right? Nothing new is to be learned, right? I know how to publish papers in that area. So it becomes very comfortable. But what happens when things are changing? When new science technologies are coming, when new ways of thinking are coming, if I don't change, if the bulk of people don't change after 20 years, then where would we get the new science and technology from, right? So this, my capacity to change, my capacity to engineer change proactively, not just change myself, but also say I'll change this, right? Because this is not productive anymore, right?
yeah, right.
This reluctance to change has been, this inertia to change has been a hallmark of this cultural behavioral aspects.
Right. So, sir, like as a country, if we look at the bigger picture, like, where do we lie currently and how we can step above the, the rest of the countries. So, if we can talk about that.
I think we are going very positive direction.
Mm-hmm.
Now, having discussed some of the problems that have retarded our progress and growth, right? And we should continue to work on these aspects. What are these aspects? Merging, working together of invention and innovation ecosystem.
Sir, just to interrupt you a
Yeah.
little bit, like one of the interesting trend that I'm seeing, like you're a scientist turned administrator. Like we are seeing scientists turned entrepreneurs. Like if
Yes,
you look
yes.
at Skyroot, so he's a scientist
Right.
from ISRO. He started his company,
Correct.
and now two IIT Kanpur alumni in
Yes.
US started Skilled AI. They
Yes.
are faculty at CMU.
Correct.
So this is one of the trend that I'm seeing, like innovation
Yes.
meets like knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly. We said there is a trend, certainly, more converting knowledge into socio-economic opportunity.
okay.
Yeah, we said that this is what we call innovation ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
basically, represented by Lakshmi. Okay, so Lakshmi is not just money. Don't ever mistake. There is a concept that we have developed, and so sometimes, people have developed some unhealthy feelings towards Lakshmi, and especially in academic, circles, and we
Okay.
say only Saraswati, only Saraswati. It's not that. So without Lakshmi, Saraswati will do nothing, and without Saraswati, Lakshmi will do nothing.
Right. Hundred
Okay,
percent.
and so it's invention and innovation ecosystem working together. This is what we need. At the same time, we need right kind of policies and regulatory frameworks. At the same time, we need, at the most fundamental level, we need cultural behavioral aspects which will make all of this possible. All of this possible. You should not get intimidated, in science, in pursuit of new knowledge, profound knowledge. One should not get intimidated. One should not feel that I should not ask, be independent thinker, be critical thinker, no matter if it challenges ideas, no matter if it challenges my surroundings and my institution and so on, right? While we convey conformity from school, right? Where does that conformity come from? It comes from the fact that if you don't conform to what the teacher and the book is saying, then you will not pass exams, right?
Right.
So we have conditioned people to be conform all the time, and not have their independent impact and identity. So we see every society needs two things. It requires a balance between change and continuity.
Right.
So it's not like I must change all the time, for no reason at all, right? But the change and continuity, so 80% may be continuity and 20% may be change. In those sectors which are changing faster, you may have a different balance of change and continuity. Okay, but this is the whole life is nothing but a balance between change and continuity.
Great.
Okay, and how do you regulate? How do you engineer? How do you understand how much change and how much continuity?
Okay.
How much construction and how much destruction?
Right. Sir, since you mentioned like ki we should worship Saraswati and Lakshmi both, and like
These are metaphors.
yeah,
I
matters
don't
like,
mean as
like
some
just metaphorically.
calendar art,
Yeah,
like
just metaphorically.
yes,
So like if you look at like ki India's research papers,
yes,
PhD. So many people say that India is producing too much PhDs and too much research paper, but without ki emphasis on what is in the national interest. So like ki if we can align some people only like with national interest, like without affecting their
yes,
academic
yes, yes.
freedom, like if I put it that way.
See, so well, I think it is clear. Any, not India only, any country, about 10% or less PhDs get a job in academia. Like teaching and research and so on.
Yeah.
Now, so that means that a bulk of PhD that are produced must be absorbable somewhere else.
Okay.
Now, not everybody looking for only this job after PhD, which means if we need to have jobs for PhDs elsewhere, not only in university teaching, then two things are required. One is that PhD, that kind of activity is required in the industry, right? That they have interest in the research and the background that you bring there. The second aspect is that our PhD training itself should bring it more in alignment with the requirement of other employees like industry.
Yeah, right.
Right. So industry must have activities that require PhDs, and PhDs have a training that can contribute to industry.
Right.
This is logical, no? There's nothing wrong with this. Now the question is, oftentimes the interest of what PhDs do depend on the interest of the supervisor, advisor. It does not depend on the interest of the industry. Okay, so which means it doesn't have relevance and direction. So I told you that creating knowledge must have relevance and direction if it is to connect with industry. So we have to clearly encourage the fact that some of the research can be driven by industry. And in fact, there is a new scheme, a very ambitious RDI, which is a 1 lakh crore fund for 5 years, which means 20,000 crores per year, which is led by R&D of industry. They may have a partner outside of industry, but basically the demand comes from industry for that research. See, so there are two ways to initiate research. That I initiate research as a professor and I don't care what industry needs. Other thing is that industry can initiate research on the problem that it wants to solve, and it can draft a researcher or a professor as a partner in solving that problem. These are two different modes of problem solving. So you see, the easy way to understand it is, okay, I have a key and I'm looking for a lock all over the world that would open with this key. This is the regular old model in which a key is basically the information and knowledge a professor has or a researcher has. Okay, now he doesn't know where this is going to fit. The other approach is that I have a lock that I need to open and I am making a key for it. So this is basically the reverse of basically how we have been doing driving research. And so if it's a industry led research, then it is this problem that I know the lock I want to open and I need to prepare a key for it, which is a more defined problem than having a key and looking for a lock all over that would open with that key, right? So that is why this only academia led research does not succeed, and it has a bearing on the question you asked me, what about PhDs? So the PhDs, if we have not trained them, I'm not saying everybody. I already said that less than 10% of PhDs any in country get employed in fundamental research, in government funded research, or in academia. What about the rest 90%? So we must train them in a way that they can contribute to the economy of the country. Some of them may have their own deep tech startups. Some of them may work for industries. So this will develop our industry. It will have greater economic impact. But basically, we have to make their orientation in such a way so that they would contribute to applied knowledge and so on. And like I pointed out, this RDI scheme of the government is a right step in that direction.
Yes, sir, I agree 100%. Like, above everything, you also, like, need the degree of freedom, resources, like,
Yes,
to succeed and to think very differently. And
correct.
before, like, I think India used to spend some 0.64 or 0.7% on the R&D, like where other countries used to spend a lot.
Yes,
And now I think that RDI fund will help a lot, but still
correct.
I think it's less, like government can only act as a catalyst.
Yes.
But we need lot of private players from the
Yes,
outside too.
that's what I said, that Lakshmi has to start respecting Saraswati. So
Right.
this is what you call knowledge economy. So see, the knowledge economy is exactly the fusion of Lakshmi and Saraswati.
Okay.
Knowledge and economy, right? So why we say knowledge economy is where the knowledge is contributing to generating resources, economy, right? And so what we want, if there is more, understanding and transition to knowledge economy, then there would be greater, um, uh, demand for PhDs, there is greater demand for knowledge, and there is greater funding of knowledge by private sector. As you correctly pointed out, that government and nowhere, I mean, in the world, the top countries, just look at, for example, Google,
Okay.
right? Google's R&D budget may exceed that of the national agency for funding in all areas, whereas Google does only their own research, right? But I'm saying that the amount of resources that big companies can bring into business, right, can exceed the capacity of the government. And there are examples everywhere. Okay. It's just that in India it has not happened because of cultural, behavioral aspects on one side, and other is the lack of a knowledge economy.
Right. Yes, sir.
I mean, just 20 years ago, people said that, look, it's not important what you know, but who you know, right? So, license Raj and all that stuff. So, which basically means you don't really value knowledge. What you value is कि अरे वो कुछ काम निकलवा देगा, right? License मिल जाएगा तो पैसा कमा लेंगे, right? It's not because you're not competing globally. See, the point is when I say, let's say Google or anything, if they do not they do not remain at the cutting edge by research, then they will be overtaken. They will collapse, right? Not in one day, but in 5 years, right? So therefore, when you have an enterprise which is at the cutting edge, knowledge economy, then automatically you will have to spend money for R&D, and you will have to have tens of thousands of engineers and scientists working, right? They'll create demand for PhDs. You cannot artificially create demand for PhDs.
Right.
You see, there are two different kind of demand for PhDs to address your question in totality. One is the demand by the academic institutions for PhD. Okay, so as a professor, let's say I need 5 PhD students. Okay, so that is one kind of demand, but that demand stops as soon as a person graduates. Okay, now he has to, for the rest of his life, he needs to have a demand in industry, in wherever, in academia, where he can find a job. But that demand may be less. Okay, so we have to create more that demand, and it's a vicious cycle. So when you have supply of good trained PhDs who can create new opportunities, right? At the same time, industry is looking for trained PhDs who can enlarge their business.
Right, sir, 100%.
Yes.
Even sometime I also wonder, like, when I have been to many places, I met a lot of people,
Yes.
and I think, like, we have the best talent in the world. We
Correct.
have best people. Only
Yeah.
need is that ecosystem. Like, many people still, many VCs have that taboo towards funding deep tech startups due to long cycles. It's like
Right.
research, no. So I think that's where we are as an ecosystem we are lagging behind. So.
So, but I mean, it's all not negative. What I'm saying
Mhm.
is, yes, historically we have lagged behind, but there is a good reason for our optimism. As long as we can diagnose our bottlenecks correctly,
Right.
and then we have the commitment to work on them, right? We understand, we diagnose the problem correctly, and we know what needs to be done for it, and we make some progress in that direction, then the future would be better. Okay,
Right.
and I think it is happening, and it needs to happen more. There's an old Bob Dylan song, "Times they are a changing.
Right.
The slow one now will later be fast."
Yes, even everyone is saying like 21st century belongs to India and Indians.
But this is not guaranteed unless
Okay.
we take control.
Okay.
Okay, simply saying this is not going to do it, right? So because don't for- so we what are our advantages and strengths? Our strengths are one, demographic dividend, a very young country. Young basically means that people are hungry, they need to make a life, they need to make a good life, and so they are motivated, they are energetic, and if we empower them, then it can go a long way. Second advantage we have is very large number of people and market, both in terms of quantity of market and diversified market, which means that all kind of products are needed. From the same, let's say one product with one function, maybe at 10 rupees and also at 100 rupees. So depending on, what, right? So it's a test ground for the entire world. Um, the diversity of India is unmatched. So and there is a great demand. So this, and the third strength is that we have existing R&D institutions and universities which have strength. So there's the invention ecosystem. Okay, not the innovation ecosystem,
Right.
but invention ecosystem is in place, and it can produce, right, people, it can produce knowledge. So these are our strengths, many other strengths. So one has to build on those strengths. Now there are some bottlenecks, and in fact, one of the bottlenecks which has emerged very fast is the new technologies. So unless we are the owners of those technologies and can leverage them for our own good, we will again get into this cycle of dependence, right? And so it can even be neo-colonialism, which does not require physical presence. So digital presence, which is boundary, right? It's everywhere, isn't it? So that can lead to our dependence on other people, and so therefore the cycle of exploitation could continue. So mastering the new technologies and to make them work for us, right, is a very big challenge. At the same time, new challenges of climate change, environment, they will constantly become more and more with time, right? And of course, let's say after 40, 45 years, also our population will start aging. So these are new constraints that will come. So now is a good time, I'm saying, for next 40 years, there is a window of opportunity which will not be open for infinity.
Right.
So how do we take control? How do we work as a nation with energy and optimism and strength and positivity? All of that, I'm saying we used to think, hey, there's a lot of time. No, abhi nahi to agli century mein ho jayega. I'm saying that things have become superheated, overheated. So we have no time to waste in that sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone is talking about like ki this is the best time to build in India. This is the
Yes,
best time
yes,
to do things. So
yes,
everyone is talking about Viksit Bharat. Like from your lens, like if you can just talk to our people,
yes.
like how they can align themselves with
Okay.
national interest
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah.
nation,
Uh-huh.
for that Bharat to be true.
Hmm. So that's what we have already discussed
Yeah,
all of these
right,
points, maybe separately. Um, so Viksit Bharat, yes, Viksit Bharat rides on all of these factors.
right.
Let me repeat very quickly,
Yeah,
kind of
quickly.
summary. One is our invention ecosystem. Invention ecosystem which creates knowledge on demand, which has quality, which is profound, which has relevance, and which has direction. This knowledge must connect with the innovation ecosystem, which converts knowledge into socio-economic opportunity and impact. So it's not just these two systems, the interface between them has to be tight, which in itself is another system. How like I gave example of startup is one such system which comes between invention and innovation ecosystems, converting knowledge into money. So now at the same time for Viksit Bharat, that, government policies, regulation, standards, very important, all of those, and laws. Okay, and these are all, they are reflections of will of society also in some matter, right? What the society says, we want this, right? Suppose I want privacy of data. Suppose I want control of my data. I don't want my data to be monetized by some unrelated corporation or person or nation, right? So all of this, because these are also political arena, so geopolitics becomes, increasingly important. So the rules and laws that we would make in our society are very important. And then finally, I would say the cultural and behavioral aspects. All of
Yes.
them working together only will lead to Viksit Bharat,
Great.
right? Sometimes we overemphasize only one aspect, but we don't see the big picture and the interdependence of these things which appear to be different, just like Lakshmi and Saraswati appear to be different, but they are not. Okay, for our science and technology to work, for Viksit Bharat, we need these. We have to start working on grassroots. The cultural behavioral aspects, they have to start in the school. It's not, they don't come at PhD level. They don't come at job level. Whether people have confidence, it is in their parents and their teachers, right? Now I see often somebody, poor fellow, gets 95% in school, and parents are scolding him. They are saying, look at this neighbor, 99%. Right? So we have no confidence in our people, right? Only we try to berate people. We like to say, you are not good, right? The children that grow up with that attitude can never have confidence.
Right.
So I am saying it's not only science and technology, is not only about science and technology. You make a big mistake in saying that if we just put in more money in my lab, then everything will be okay. It will not be okay, right? So let me give you an example which is very harsh, which is harsh in saying and hearing. People don't like to hear this. Which is, look, if only money for research was the problem, then how come we don't have top mathematicians in the country? Right? Because you don't need money. Okay, you don't need infrastructure. You don't need $1 billion to do good mathematics. So it is all in your mind. So why is it we are not leaders in mathematical sciences? Why is it that we are not leaders in theoretical sciences? Right? I'm not talking about synchrotron here. Okay, if you don't have a synchrotron, you cannot do high energy physics. I understand that totally. Okay, explain to me the failure of theoretical sciences is not failure. I'm saying mediocrity of theoretical sciences, right? If you give the logic that no, only if I had $1 billion, then I'll do as good as science as everywhere else. This is not, it's not supported by evidence. This particular hypothesis that only problem is my funding, of course funding can be a problem, it's a necessary condition. I'm asking you, is it sufficient? So to my mind, the sufficient conditions are not simply science, technology, funding, okay? They are actually related to something higher. It's our attitude, it's our culture, it's our behavior, it's our working in teams, as you pointed out early on. It has to do with, do we own the problem? Do we have the passion to solve it, to work together? Right? These are all cultural, whether I work in team or not, or I'm self-centered. Okay, this is all very cultural, right? So, so all of that together with ease of doing business, rules, regulations, deregulating sectors, all of that, having trust in our citizens, empowering our youth, empowering our diversity, very important. Right now, if women don't have the same empowerment as men, that means that 50% of the society is not working. So it's not about women. It's about we are Viksit Bharat,
Yeah. Right.
right? So Viksit Bharat, if you look at the economic aspect of it, if 25% of your workforce is not empowered, if it is got bottlenecks in working, right? If it's not confident, if it's not trained, if it's not that, it then have the support of society which is required for their working, then that 25% of the economy is already gone, right?
Right.
So it has to do with the fact that we have to empower every section of society. So that, empowering means what? Remove the bottlenecks. you know so people say, if women are working, they of course need a safe working environment. They need cultural aspects in the office. They need to be able to take care of maybe children, right? So all of these things we ignore. We say, we say for us the level playing field actually means that everybody has the same level. But you see, level playing field, if you have a tall person and a short person, level playing field is not the same level. It means you need to create a pedestal for the shorter person. Okay, so that their height is the same.
Right.
Right. So therefore, I mean, even today I hear so many people, men saying, why are you getting preferential treatment to women? See, it's not preferential treatment. It is a treatment that would empower them to serve their useful function in society and the economic system. Okay, I mean, people take it personally. It is not personal, right? It's not personal at all. So just like, okay, if you want to empower a child, you have to treat in a different way. I'm not saying women are child. I'm saying they have a different constraint. Okay, you also want them to be the major, take care of family, right? So how do you compensate for that? So this is also cultural behavior. I mean, if you say that we raise men by saying you don't have to clean the house, right? And you don't have to do certain things. So that's all cultural, behavioral, and it's changing. But I'm saying it is necessary for it to change, for us to have the full impact of Viksit Bharat to go there, right?
Right.
Yes.
Great, sir. Like you explained everything so beautifully, and I
Mhm.
think with that knowledge, with
Mhm.
that feedbacks, we can truly become Viksit Bharat in the coming
Mhm.
years. So
And I'd like to also conclude, because people don't, people think diversity and inclusion are lip service.
yeah, okay,
They become political, slogans. They are not that. They have a much deeper meaning, right? So why do we value diversity? We value diversity because, you see, look at nature. So nature values diversity, not optimization. Whereas in our society, we start thinking, no, no, efficiency and optimization only. So if somebody is a woman is not as productive, okay, as men, so let's not hire them, right? So we have a very narrow view of actually what is efficiency and what is optimization, instead of saying diversity. So what is the meaning of diversity? Meaning of diversity is that, in nature also, you see, if we created all humans which are copies of each other, which are clones of each other, and they are optimized, but then the new virus which came, COVID-19, it would have killed all of us together. If it kills you, it kills me,
right,
isn't it? Because there is no robustness in that system. The robustness comes under changing circumstances by having diversity. Because diversity means, let's say, women, young people, geographic diversity, all of that basically means you have different perspectives on problems and their solutions. It's not a single perspective on single problem and single solution, right? Because by having clones, by even if they're optimized clones, it does not mean that they will be able to solve and understand all the problems. That's the problem. So therefore, diversity has a philosophical meaning. It has also operational meaning. And so we need both optimization and diversity. It's a balance between change and continuity. Everything in life is not narrow straitjacket, only optimization. Okay? Every society and every institution needs some slack. This slack is purposefully built. You see, what happens? You take a brittle material, those of you know material science,
mm-hmm.
right? So, brittle material may have high strength. Why is brittle? Now, to decrease the brittleness, what you do is you put some soft material inside it, which takes the impact and
Right,
dissipates energy, right? So society is like that. It must have a lot of pockets which dampen the hits, the perturbations, and the changing challenges, right? So when you don't look narrowly, you look from a cosmic viewpoint, okay, universal, global viewpoint, okay. Then you say that actually both tightness and slack have to be built in a robust system. Okay, don't say this is inefficient, we'll remove it. Okay, you keep tightening your system. Finally, it becomes so tight that it cannot change, and it cannot absorb shocks, and it cannot absorb, response to changing circumstances, right? So this is the philosophical meaning of being little. Don't be optimal all the time. Okay, live with less. Okay, so this is true for an individual, and it is true for an institution, and it is true for the civilization.
Right.
Right.
Great, sir. I think there is so much to learn from you, and whenever I visit you, like I take something, some part of yours,
Hmm?
and I think people will also take some part of yours, and I
Yeah,
think they
yeah.
will put themselves in the right
There
direction.
is no you actually.
Okay.
So this is the part that you take. Actually, the part is belongs to everybody.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
This you is a psychological construct. Actually, in reality, there is no you.
Okay.
It is an identity that you have created in your mind. Physically, we all correlated.
Mm-hmm.
The breath that comes out from this body goes in your body, and everything else. So the energy and material, they all related. The force is acting on us and everything. There is no separation in neither in quantum world nor in the classical world, macro and micro world. They all, everything is correlated, right? See, we are here together because you are, because I am. Okay. So the interaction we are having here together is not because of individuality. It is because we are correlated. And instead of saying that we are two different entities and now interacting, you can say that actually there is, we are one entity.
Okay.
Okay, this is a different way of saying, and because the classical physics means two entities interacting.
Right.
So interaction is the third entity, the entity one, particle one, particle two, and interaction three, right? But one, two, and three are together one, actually,
Okay.
right?
So.
So this is a different way of looking at the physics,
Okay. Great.
which is the quantum physics.
Okay. I
Okay.
hope people learn from our interaction and our conversation a
Yes,
lot.
yes, yes. There.
Okay. On the ending note, thank you so much, sir, for doing this. I
Thank you so much
literally
for the opportunity to have the dialogue or interaction. Thank you very much.
thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
very much.
much. Great.